Hi everyone, and welcome to another eclipse video. It feels just like yesterday that I was sitting down to film an eclipse video because it basically was yesterday. This is very rare where we have eclipses at both the new moon and the full moon. As you guys see, I usually only make, maybe 2 eclipse videos per year. I believe this is my 3rd eclipse video of this year because there are a lot of eclipses in the year 2020. Apparently 2020 is the year of rare astrological events and astronomical events, having the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which hasn't happened since the 1500s. Having, this sort of a double dose eclipse that we're having during the sign that activates that particular Pluto-Saturn, conjunction most strongly during Cancer season, during the moon cycle of Cancer, at the new moon in Cancer, as well as the full moon in Capricorn, having eclipses on both of those. Can you guys imagine what the odds are? It's crazy. As we know, you guys know that I make eclipse videos really often whenever I feel that a really potent eclipse is coming in. You guys know my stance on eclipses. Something comes in and something goes out. They are drastically and dramatically changing energies. They are visible, at least in certain places on Earth. And I believe that this lunar eclipse that we're having on around July 4th, unlike the solar eclipse we had back, I believe it was around June 21st, this one will be visible in North America, I believe, whereas the solar eclipse during the new moon was visible in parts of Africa, I believe. And I'll put more info about the eclipse below, the time and date information, because it's going to be different for everybody depending on your time zone. But this eclipse is an interesting one. It's quite different than most of the other eclipses I've felt as I'm sitting down to film it. Perhaps some of those changes have already come in for me, but I think that this eclipse is not harmful. I don't think that it means to really capture us or ensnare our sensibilities, as a lot of us are feeling. It kind of feels like our sensibilities are, extorted or ensnared in some way with the Cancer season, as it's a very cloistering, withdrawing energy. Typically Cancer is, especially with the triple retrograde Capricorn conjunction that we're having, which is, of course, activated by this full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, opposite Cancer season. Basically the trials that we are going through, the tribulations for some of us, and just the events that are happening to us personally are defining, yes, but they're captivating, but they're kind of meant to empty things out a little bit. A very purgative, purifying energy that we are really entering into with this eclipse. And it won't really be seen until after the eclipse, so probably it might take until around, even the new moon after this, so moving towards later July, July 20th-ish, until we really see what this eclipse gave to us, which it does give something. Again, this axis of Cancer and Capricorn is about the physical coil, okay? These are about tangible, real things. And especially because the new moon eclipse that we had on June 21st, the solar eclipse we had during the new moon, that was in Cancer. So it was more of an emotional shift. It was more of an internal recognition. And now that we're having the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn, this is where that's going to get real. This is where we're going to see the manifestations of our efforts from then. And also seeing the purity of our own hearts as well. As we are still moving towards Leo season, which, I'll make the Leo season August video soon. But we've got some things to work out before then, let me tell you guys. If you can use this oncoming time, especially during and after this eclipse, to really establish a space and to understand as much as you can allow yourself to about the bigger picture of your path and about maybe the constrictions or the restrictions or confinements that you've experienced and why those are there and how they can be overcome in an integrity-based and responsible way. There's no cheating our way out with this energy. That's something very clear. There's no hiding from the truth, really. There's no fogging a mirror, okay? There's no ability with this to really escape from our own personal context. And I think that there's a big, maybe escapist fantasy. You know, we do have Neptune in Pisces, who has gone retrograde as well by the end of June. So I'll try to make a video about that too, to add, you know, to just every single retrograde planet. We'll have Mars eventually going as well, and Uranus. So the retrogrades are not over either. That's another kind of thing to remember with this eclipse. Despite a very new beginning, okay, as most of us can identify with some kind of like very grandiose new beginning at this time, after the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, things are still contextual and things are still being revisited. This is really important to take with us because the energy is so new and so fresh, but it can't be completely uncontextual either. And this is sort of the snag in our realities right now, where either we're operating way too much through context, you know, breathing new life into old histories that do not need to come back, or we are demanding a certain like conversion or a certain radical new beginning that is also not right. So where does it leave us, and how can we make this a little bit more easy on ourselves? Because easy is one of the last words that I can really come to when I'm channeling and articulating on the energies at hand. It is not something really easy or simple, and that is measured and that is reasoned, because if it were easy or simple, there's really no actual emphasis on the intentions we really set out with where we currently are. So that's an interesting thing to think about too. With this eclipse, the intentions that you set out with will be brought back to light. So if you've had a long running project or something that you've, you know, built with your own hands or been a part of for such a long time, and now it's in a Saturnian light where it's maybe successful, making money, you know, being a source of abundance for you, but it takes upkeep and responsibility, you know, anything along those boundaries, the intentions have to be revisited at this time. So yeah, potential rebrandings, potential, I don't know that it's really the best time to actually do that, but understanding at a heart level that certain, you know, places that we've invested so much energy into are not the face now that we really expected, okay? And that's kind of where we get into control as well, you know. It's like, how much control do we really want in our lives? How much control do we really want? Because I think a lot of us can also see things that we've been in control of and how they might have really, what do I want to say? How they have grown or redistributed themselves within our control. But now it's like a lot to handle, or like it's kind of like, do I really want to claim that? Is that really, you know, is that really the example that is facilitating my own growth as a person? So I know this is a bit complex and abstract, but are you now ready with this energy to claim your own contributions? This to me feels very important, where a lot of us almost wanted to hide from our contributions or wanted to hide from our seeds that we have put into the ground, which have now grown with all of this earth energy immensely. And come Virgo season of 2020, there will be a harvesting. There will be some kind of mutable extract of what that represented. I know this is very jargony and very abstract, but this is just how it's coming through. And as we prepare for that and we go through Cancer and Leo season, which are, it's to be here, to be with these transits, to have incarnated into an adult life during these transits is not, it was never meant to be something that's smooth and easy. It was meant to be something that redirected your soul's energy into a different kind of gratitude, into a different space of intention, into a different space of alignment, and ultimately into a much more higher vibrational, it's not really, I wouldn't call it high vibrational, but it's more the meat and potatoes of what you've wanted. So wants manifesting, that is not really, I think, coming to a point with this transit, but pay close attention to where your ego is at with wants, where it's maybe been for the entirety of this year, and see if you can't maybe connect the dots of why certain things became really tough as you started to want different things, as the ego kind of, you know, draws a new boundary or expands, and what we're currently doing is not in alignment with that expansion. You know, there's less and less space for what's not in alignment with that expansion. So this really is like an eclipse of the ego. You know, so many astrologers are talking about ego right now. So many psychotherapists are probably talking about ego right now, and it's all correct, you know, and it's very clear. You know, we know that Capricorn in 10th house energy deals with ego. We know that the sign Leo, all the fire signs to a degree deal with Leo. Deal with ego, and we're going into Leo season. We're getting Mars and Aries. We have 3 planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, that deal with ego retrograde in the 10th house energy of Capricorn. So the human collective ego is experiencing an eclipse right now. And what can come from that is not pretty, okay? There are some things that are not pretty, and we can see it all around us, okay? And at a personal level, I think that we can really salvage ourselves and grow truly much stronger ourselves by offering our selves a true nurturing experience at this time in whatever way that we can. It is Cancer season, and it's like really the most healing, wondrous part of Cancer season as we experience this eclipse. So moving into my second point about this eclipse and about what is coming up is that right as we come past it, so moving into July 5th and July 6th, that is such an important time to have space and to have, like, I don't know, some amount of like orientation. Freshman orientation is what that feels like to me, where we really are in a new area, okay? We are really energetically in a new paradigm, sort of. It's not a new paradigm, we've been here for a while, but we're getting oriented to it, and the actual effects and physical manifestations are coming through and becoming much more reality-based. So we are getting oriented to that. So I really think that we do have to cut each other slack if we want to be seen as kind-hearted individuals, because I'm not really sensing that much slack is cut with this energy. I really also feel that there is a very destructive level of enjoying the pain of others, of enjoying how other people just fall off of their platforms, of, you know, kind of just, you know, making some popcorn and watching people, you know, we may not know it in this moment, but actually ruin somebody else's entire life in a small, sort of undetectable way, but it's like the linchpin, or it's the block, okay? So it won't be much longer past July and August that such small efforts or such small actions will be so effective, but they are very effective right now. So I think that our mission is to really give it to ourselves, and our mission is to really be our own best cheerleaders and be our own best friends with this, and put any type of destructive verbal force that we have into something more structural and more strong for our own individual futures. So finally telling yourself that you can operate a successful business, you know, instead of going after somebody else and criticizing somebody else. You know, because it's interesting to kind of see how also, as some people are being very critical and being very like, you know, unempathetic to other people's progressions. It's kind of, what do I want to say? It's deeply unfortunate to see that that has replaced any type of positive self-dialogue about building a new business, about having a great new house, about, you know, finally getting into a relationship without feeling demeaned in some way. And to see that these exterior focuses, as the 10th house Capricorn retrograde energy tends to bring in, a sort of exterior status hierarchical focus, and little, you know, nitpicks or little like biting at the ankles of those types of things become the replacement for any type of individual potential. So that is the dark side of this time, and it's something that I really want to illuminate and bring light to, is how much you could actually gain during this time, and how much you could actually strengthen yourself. And what I'm not saying here is, you know, like obviously there are some things that we need to talk about. There are some things that need to be, illuminated and exposed during this time. It's a big time of exposure. That's not all bad, as there are certain bad things that do not need to continue and they need criticism, okay? But what I'm trying to really elucidate with this is the importance of not letting a critical mindset replace a hopeful intention towards the self. That's really to be very clear what I'm speaking on there. And because this eclipse can be that. It can be the last little bit of hope that we ever had for ourselves vanishing, okay? That's what this eclipse can indicate too. Because Capricorn is all about acceptance. It's about accepting your lot. It's about very strict hierarchy. So with an eclipse, full moon in Capricorn, with these retrograde Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, we can unknowingly sign the rest of our lives away, you know, take out a mortgage that we can never afford to pay off without refinancing so many times, you know, sign a contract that's like absolutely so much more binding than it looks, or, you know, or just, it's more emotional even than that too, with the fact that it's Cancer season, where it's like, there can just be a forgetting of what it's like to be kind to oneself, or there's just like now, instead of, you know, having any type of mantra or any type of like self optimism, we can totally even forget what that's like and just kind of start to fill empty space and, you know, play games, or, you know, do our jobs from home, or, you know, run up a budget or run up a credit card or something, and there's nothing in that that's kind, and there's nothing in it that's like nice. So it's just something to be aware of right now. So something really positive about this eclipse that we can all really get behind, I think, is the responsibilities that we've identified towards ourselves becoming something that has a lot less obstacles in the way. So finally, achieving a certain level of health will be much easier after this eclipse. This is a really great thing. And depending on what house this is happening in your chart will really more so define how certain things become easier. Because that's one great thing about eclipses, is they are a great opportunity to make certain aspects of our lives easier, to make certain aspects of our lives much less, you know, problematic. So a great intention to move into this time with, and really finishing up Cancer season, especially so from about July 5th to July 21st, you really want to have a better sense of yourself, okay? You really want to, if it's been put off now, you know, getting the circadian rhythms or the diets in order, getting the health of the skin, the health of the body, the health of the eyes, whatever it is, you know, the pH balance of the body, the alkalinity of the body, the alchemy of the body, the alchemy of the people in your life, like how they're coming into your life, and how you're you know, responding to certain presences of people or anything. This should be something that starts to get a lot better. And it's not just going to happen magically, though, is the other thing. Being that this eclipse is in Capricorn, it means something is not easy about it. Capricorn is about struggle and strife a lot of the time. It is about uphill battles. It is about, you know, hard work, self-discipline, and the rewards that we get from having a very good amount of self-control and self-discipline. So what a great time to build a time schedule, okay? You'll save yourself so much hassle in Virgo season by working on the clock right now, by making that just a touch more rigid, because there's a potential, I think, with this Cancer season just to kind of like melt into bed, and some of us have to do that, you know, especially before the 10th of July. Some of us just have to, you know, sleep it off, or, you know, get away from the limelight, or away from certain narcissistic people, or away from the internet for some of us. It is very vital, from especially the 10th of July until around the 21st of July, that something about that time is much better, okay? And I'm not saying that it's just going to fall into place. I'm not saying that, 10th to 21st of July is going to be a magic time of your life. We have to really make it so. It's almost so vital, okay? It is essential to make that easier on yourself, okay? And to understand how the future starts to come together, and to understand, for some of us to even forget about some old pain cycles that we were going through, and to not be desperate on past experiences or relating to past experiences, desperate for closures, desperate for re-meetings, desperate for anything relating to the past. Is very important for this Cancer season, because I think a lot of the previous Cancer seasons have been sort of build-ups to what is then difficult in the future. So this is kind of an interesting thing about Cancer season, is oftentimes this is where we do the most damage. And I'm just realizing this is a kind of an interesting astrological discovery for me. But you can do a lot of damage during Cancer season, a lot of future emotional damage, and you can look back to a Cancer season and be like, what the heck was I doing? Like, where was my head? Because we kind of drift off a little bit, and during any water sign, we just kind of like get really, you know, fluid with things, which is not bad, but the energy is too rigid this year to go completely fluid. We have to have some amount of, you know, routine, some amount of regiment, and even like scheduling your time to just be in bed, or you're scheduling your time to just do whatever you want to do for a little while in an integrity-based and responsible way. Just scheduling that out can be like really good. Something great, again, from the 10th to the 21st of July is understanding how previous Cancer seasons, so June 21st to July 21st, maybe of like 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19, understanding how these times were like really moving the karma around and really getting you exactly where you are now, okay? Getting you exactly where you are now. And to recede and withdraw and not move the karma around could be one of the most magic things this Cancer season, and to a degree this Leo season, because Leo season can be tough for some people. Let me tell you, this is not a very easy time of Leo energy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But you can really set yourself up to heal ego problems, to heal pain regarding closure of the past, to heal momentum, to heal risky decision-making philosophies, anything like that, impulses, okay? That's something else that I want to talk about on this video. I will in just a second. Anything like that, healing, these like super old momentums. Cancer is all about healing, okay? But it's also about releasing, okay? Knowing when to release, knowing when to let go of something, knowing when something has had its run, okay? So that's going to be an important discovery for a lot of us to make too, for this eclipse, because an eclipse is also echoing those ideals too, like releasing what is eclipsed out. So a little bit about impulses before we finish up for today. I'll talk more about this in the Leo season video, because the fire energy is a much more impulse creating energy. There's nothing wrong with an impulse, okay? First of all, I'm not going to put down impulses in and of themselves, but two-factor authentication, okay, is best for everything in life right now. You know, like with your accounts and your like your online accounts, where you have the two-factor authentication, you like log in, then it like sends a notification to your phone and has you put in like another code to like log in again. That's kind of best for any like grand decision right now. You kind of like, you might even make it like for any type of financial expenditure or any type of, you know, decision that's a little bit outside of your typical comfort zone. These things really need a two-factor authentication. Say you want to make some huge purchase, or say you want to like meet an ex or something, or you want to like do something like a little bit, you know, karma shifting or reality shifting after this eclipse, for like the rest of this year actually. You might want to like, okay, put it out into the universe. Like I'll text myself, okay, I want to, you know, buy this house, or I want to, you know, meet that person I haven't seen in years and years. You might text it to yourself and sleep on it and see how that feels when it like wakes you up in the morning, and like you schedule it and it wakes you up, and it's like, and you might even see like if you do that like at 2 a.m. last night, I was actually thinking that I might buy that horrendous looking house. Or at 2 a.m. last night, I was actually thinking that I might create space and buy dinner for that horrendous person. So there is that type of thing. There's a bit of a hysteria, or a bit of a like, whoa, what are we doing here? Like, it's especially because, again, Cancer is, I'm getting chills. This is probably actually the most prominent, important message for this video. Cancer is ruled by the moon, okay? It's a very ebbing and flowing, and sometimes it can get into like a lunacy as well. So watch out what you're doing really late at night, okay? So like, it's like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you're on like Amazon, like shopping around, or you're like thinking, okay, can I like buy a car online at 2 or 3 a.m.? Or okay, you know, I'm just going to like save my credit card information to the browser and not even look at what I purchase. Or I'm just going to like create all these accounts, or, you know, start online dating or something like that. Especially if it's nighttime, the moon is out, two-factor authentication, okay? Because it might not all be bad. Maybe this is the best house in the world, you know, because this is fourth house, Cancer time. It's not a bad time actually to buy a house or to have a new home. Like, that's not bad. But with all the retrograde Saturn Pluto stuff, it's like it can't be on impulse, okay? It has to be very tried and true decision making. Any impulsive purchase or impulsive you know, romantic action, or impulsive you know, even just like communication with like a family member, or an old friend, or, you know, applications for new credit cards, or I don't know, being hacked as well as possible. So there's all of that type of stuff coming around. Mercury's just gone direct. Uranus is going to go retrograde soon. Mars will eventually go retrograde. Neptune's retrograde. There's a lot of like attempt to like fog things up, but like a precise, like, oh my God, what did I do type of question that can come up for people who are especially on that. Anything else that I want to talk about? Just also that impulses need a different type of channeling. So the impulse to buy something, or the impulse to, you know, eat a lot of ice cream, or the impulse to, you know, stay in bed all day. These are not really it, okay? Because Cancer season wants us there. It wants us, you know, near dairy and near comfortable beds and all of that. But with the triple Capricorn retrograde conjunction, I think that that bypasses a lot of where we actually want to go. So I think that this is more of a productive Cancer season. And as always, there will be a bit of rest. There will be a bit of, you know, soothing, better feeling rejuvenation that we need to get as well. But on the other side of each, you know, trip to the spa, or each day that we sleep past noon, there has to be like a lot of sorting and a lot of, you know, getting things together, because a healthy household, which is what Cancer shines at creating, as a healthy household, is very, what do I want to say? There's a big routine, there's a big regimen, there's a, you know, a constant cleaning, a constant paying of bills, a constant, all of that kind of stuff. That's why the signs Cancer and Virgo go really well together. They have a very wonderful synergy as well. Cancer and Taurus is the same angle. It's a sextile, you know, so great to be near Virgos or near Taurus people right now during Cancer season to offset the need for relaxation, the need for being in bed, the need for ice cream, with, you know, a more sensual and healing energy, or a more, you know, disciplined regimen and work ethic ideal. So all about the balance, you know, all about all of it, you know, like we rest, we get really good sleep, and then we do what we have to do, and then we get caught up, and then maybe we even do some things in advance so that things are much easier, and there's not a sense of like procrastination weighing on our shoulders, and we like can't quite, you know, fathom the things that we still have to accomplish. So anyway, everyone, what an incredible eclipse we are having. Try to not get too attached to things. It's a very, you know, things for some people, like what they've thought that they would have forever, or what they've thought would be like structural components of their like entire life, are, you know, maybe not the most solid things right now. And actually these smaller things that we've, you know, just had a glimpse of become much more in our reach with this too. So what I think with it is just be responsible, find your integrity. There's nothing that offsets 10th house energy Capricorn energy like integrity, okay, because it's a power sign, it's a control sign. And those aren't, you know, power and control are not necessarily negative things. They're kind of like neutral concepts, but how we go into them defines how they become. So integrity is always the key. So integrity, truth, honesty, and I would also advise some amount of like forgiveness with this time too, because it's not very integrity based to hold people to a standard that might be very damaging also to oneself if the microscope were shown the other way. So we really do set standards during this time individually and collectively, and that's all fun and games and enjoyable while it's like other people who are, you know, being held up to those standards. But can we also then be treated as others were treated and be fine? So great time to forgive, to just make things lighter, and to just kind of dip out. I mean, that's laying low, dipping out, not really being pawns in other people's games. I've talked about the chess set. We talked all about that in the July video and the sacred geometry video, which will be linked below. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I love talking. I love articulating these times, because as an astrologer, it is one of the, I guess I would say it's a pleasure to be alive at this time, because these are very unfathomed, unprecedented transits that we're having. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel here and turn on the bell notification so you can get notified when I post. I tend to post every Friday. I might be having a change in schedule soon, but next week I am going to be putting together a Mars in Aries video, because we were going to be having that for the rest of 2020. So I know that I need to talk about that. I was potentially going to make that earlier, but it will happen next week. And I'll be here live premiering it at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Friday of next week. So I hope to see you all here. And thank you so much for your support and your kind comments. Be sure to hit the like button. And I'm also on Patreon if you would like to get more content and, you know, show your love for the channel. I do tea chats. I have a benevolence podcast over there. I have early and ad-free videos, so there's a lot over there as well. And as this is a lunar eclipse, I have an ebook called Moon Symbols, where I talk about each phase of the moon and each moon sign, and, you know, the phase you were born under, the sign you were born under with your moon, and how to heal that. So all of those links will be below. And on that note, everyone, I'm wishing you love and light and prosperity with such a interesting time. So thank you so much. I will be talking to you guys soon. Much love. Bye.